What is up, Ravens flock? Huge shout out for your support for the 410 Sports Talk. James and Glenn are the best in the business. They're killing it right now. They love talking Raven talk. Make sure you go subscribe to their channel. Let's go Ravens. Big trust.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell. In this episode, we're going to discuss a recent ranking of the top 25 players under the age of 25 entering the 2021 NFL season done by PFF. But before we do, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Check us out on Newsbreak and check us out, our podcast, anywhere you find your podcasts. But Jimbo, so how we do? You want to run down the list and then talk about any issues we have?
It won't take too long for you guys as well as Glenn and I to get into our issues on this list. But let me get into it here. I'm gonna pull this up, and we'll get right into it. So this is the thing. So like Glenn said, 25 under 20 or 25 under 25 going into this coming season. And you'll notice, of course, Ravens fans, that Lamar Jackson is number 2. So that's where we'll start. But it's not just that he's number 2 for me, Glenn. You'll see that number 1 is Fred Warner. Fred Warner, it can be the best middle linebacker in the history of the NFL to me. And he is still, as Matt Stevens once put it, playing the running back equivalent of the defensive position at this point in the NFL. And I don't know if I'm going that far, but as far as being the impact player of impact players, your quarterback position is number 1. So, and I don't think inside linebacker is number 2 or even top 5 on that list. Maybe, you could argue that depending on scheme and things like that. But yeah, so let's go through let's start with the top 5. And we'll get right into Lamar. So Fred Warner's number 1. Obviously, our boy Lamar Jackson's number 2. A.J. Brown, number 3 from Tennessee Titans. Nick Bosa from the Niners, number 4. And number 5 is Jair Alexander from the Green Bay Packers. So, Glenn, before I start getting upset and my blood starts boiling about Lamar Jackson, dig in here. What are your thoughts on the top 5 and where Lamar Jackson is ranked? Because all I want to say is disrespectful.
Well, and you know what? This is actually better than when we first looked at this article when it first broke. They've already made a change to the article.
Call him out.
Because PFF is so inept that the guy they had ahead of Lamar Jackson previously is already 25 years old in Josh Allen.
In their infinite wisdom.
I mean, so the fact that whoever wrote this article made that type of a blunder, now it's since been fixed by editors and whoever else is overlooking, but when this list first broke, for a couple weeks, we saw Josh Allen was number 2. Meanwhile, he was not under the age of 25 years old. So they've since fixed, which we've all made mistakes. I understand, but you'd hope PFF would have editor and something in place in order to not let that happen. But
checks and balances, ladies and gentlemen.
But the fact of the matter is, even if Josh Allen was 22, I don't care. He doesn't deserve to be above Lamar Jackson. Nope. I don't care what age he is, and obviously he was too old for this list, but he had no reason Lamar Jackson should be anywhere below number 1. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. Fred Warner, really good player. Also, by the way, pretty darn good martial artist from what I've seen from his social media and other posts. Fantastic athlete. I give the guy credit, but you cannot have a middle linebacker ahead of Lamar Jackson, who was unanimous MVP, who is the offensive weapon of all offensive weapons, took a team that was just on the downslide and heading to miss the postseason yet again, and turns them around and makes them a real Super Bowl contender. There is absolute. Let me just go over it because I'm sorry. I know I'm jumping right into it, Jimbo.
No, do it.
But I'm getting fired up because Fred Warner, again, good player. He came into the league the same year. He's a good player. He's got 1 Pro Bowl under his belt. He's got 1 first team All Pro under his belt. He's got 2 Players of the Weeks, Defensive Player of the Weeks, and 1 Defensive Player of the Month back in 2019. So
it's real cute.
Yeah, he's got a couple awards. Now let's get into Lamar Jackson's awards because there's a lot of them. Okay, first of all, he has 7 Player of the Weeks. to his 2. Okay.
Count 'em up, 7.
He is, by the way, like I mentioned earlier, unanimous MVP. He was voted in 2020 as the single best player in all of football.
Yeah. And the unanimous MVP, second time in NFL history, correct? And youngest MVP ever, correct?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, youngest to ever do it. So, he's got player of the month. It's hard to even look at all his attributes and all his accolades, despite the fact that he's only been doing this for 3 years. So, it's really, he's the 2019 NFL AP MVP as well as the Offensive Player of the Year. He's the NFL.
There's one other stat, though, that I want you to read, Glenn, that Lamar Jackson's the only one on the list. I think you showed it to me the other day on your phone. He's like,
I did see that.
He's 30-7, and there's some other parameters within this list that he is the only player in NFL history to attain, at least this statistic.
Yeah, and 37 career starts in NFL history with at least a 100 passer rating and an 80% win percentage. In their first 37 starts, there's one name on that list, and that's Lamar Jackson. So nobody else has had a 100 passer rating or better and 80% win percentage in their first 37 starts. This guy is doing things at the most important position in all of team sports that we've literally never seen before. And as good as Fred Warner is, we've seen better play from the middle linebacker position than what he's showing. And we've seen it here in Baltimore and Mr. Ray Lewis. So there's been guys that have done what Fred Warner's done. We've seen it countless times. There's a bunch of legendary little linebackers throughout the history of football that have done what he's done and more. No one has done the things Lamar Jackson has done.
And like you said, at the position of value, it's not even a conversation, right?
No, it really isn't. You talk about impact in the game. He's not even the most impactful player on his own team. On
his own defense. Like, as far as the way that defensive minds look at it, they don't go, oh, I got to get my middle linebacker in place because that is the most important position on the field. Like, if you watch one of the best defensive minds, and I'm sure you agree with that, at least defensively, and Bill Belichick, he's always got a big boy up front. Right? Now, he's had some incredible middle linebackers as well, but Bill always has the hog up front. Right? Yep. Even the Ravens, we've always had that guy up front. Look at the no-fly zone. Bill also focuses on the secondary, just like the Ravens. There's so many other positions defensively that come to mind when you think about overall impact on the defensive side of the ball before you think about the middle linebacker, especially in today's football. Now, this might speak to how good Fred Warner is, but like you said, Glenn, anything you can say that's good about Fred Warner, Lamar Jackson is doing things that no one has done. On top of all those things you said, he's the only quarterback to rush for 1,000 yards in back-to-back seasons. He already in 19 broke the rushing record while leading the league in touchdown passes.
Absolutely insane.
And even mind-blowing.
Yeah, I don't know if they're trying to just have some shock value. I guess that is what it is. Anytime you put Fred Warner ahead of Lamar Jackson on this list, I guess you're trying to open some eyes and trying to, get some people to click. But man, at some point you got to stay realistic here. It's good. Yeah. And all they're pointing to is when they point to Fred Warner is they're pointing to his coverage grade. They say he's so much better in coverage than all the other, middle linebackers at his position that's why he's been vaulted to number one, because his passer rating allowed is just 81.9, which is 25 points lower than the average at the position. Well, if we looked at the average quarterback and compared them to Lamar Jackson, I think we would see a very similar contrast as far as their production. So I'm just really confused. We love PFF as far, we use them a lot. We quote their grades and their they do a good job of counting snap, like all the intricate details and statistics that they put together. We love using them. But when I see lists like these and some of the other ones that they've been putting out, it's just, to me, it loses a little bit of respect from me. Yeah. I don't know how you can do this.
It's so frustrating for me, Glenn. I'm going to say this. This is ridiculous, and you've brought this up to where you'll see here it says a year removed from his MVP season, Jackson is a fantastic example of how quarterback development isn't always just a neat curve in the right direction. Jackson was still good in 2020, and he actually recorded a higher big-time throw rate than in his MVP season. He was still good. It's funny how his 1,000-plus rushing yards is a footnote. A footnote. That is so stupid, so disrespectful because it is so unique. It deserves to be more than a footnote. You can take, what they do is they take all his passing statistics and they say, oh, he had a good season. Folks, he led the league in yards per carry and went over 1,000 yards. It wasn't like he just rushed it 2 times. Nope. Right? I mean, he rushed it plenty. Is the most dynamic open field runner of the football. In I think both Glenn and I's opinion, at an extremely hard tackle, aside from the fact that he's a really good quarterback. And so the frustrating thing for me is that, like you said, the combination of the position, the age, obviously this list is age restrictive, the uniqueness of his skills. I just want to break this down. I thought it's a really good point, and it's worth mentioning about Lamar Jackson. They said he had a good season in 2019 or 2020. What Chris Sims mentioned on his podcast, and he broke it down analytically. It was actually really cool. He said, look, if Lamar repeats 8 or 9 more times his 2020 season, not 19, 20, right, he is a first ballot Hall of Famer.
No doubt about it.
I mean, and that's a good season. That's a first ballot Hall of Fame. You know what I mean?
Just good.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous. It just gets me so frustrated. I said it before. People want to be wrong. They hate so much because they want to be wrong.
Yeah,
so frustrating.
This is not us trying to.
Sorry, they want to be right. Excuse me.
Right, they don't want to be wrong. No, I got what you meant. I mean, look, I understand that Fred Warner's a good player, and this isn't us trying to really down.
No.
I think he's a fantastic player.
Put him at 2 if you want, and you got an argument, but you can't put him over Lamar. You just can't.
Yeah, I don't know how you put him over. I mean, a couple of these guys, but I mean, I know we're here to talk about Lamar Jackson, but I mean,
you may pull it back up and we'll look through a few more.
Yeah, I mean, we got AJ Brown, who I understand why. I mean, actually, I really don't understand. I mean, this guy was playing on 2 busted knees and still out there dominating the competition. So, I mean, but look, if you want to put him above them, that's fine. I mean, I guess you can have an argument. But to me, Nick Bosa, when he's healthy, and I guess that's the knock against him, is the injuries, because Nick Bosa is far more impactful than Fred Warner when he's healthy.
Well, now, let me ask you this really quickly. Sorry, I might be jumping ahead here. But even with Nick Bosa healthy, even with AJ Brown healthy, are you putting those 2 guys in? I'm not saying Kyler Murray, but just Justin Herbert with the season he had last year. Isn't he a lock for number 2?
I think so. I mean, I don't know how the guy came out and just outperformed any expectation anyone had for him. They got him at 17, which is, if I was a Chargers fan, I'd be real upset. I mean, he finished the top graded quarterback in the league under pressure and is number 17 on this list.
They got him behind another inside linebacker like Lamar.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they got him, and there's good players up there like DK Metcalf. These are all really, really talented players. Chase Young, Minka, all really good. But do you also find it kind of interesting and a little funny that the Niners have 2 players in the top 5? I mean, when's the last? I mean, I guess it's just, I guess the injuries is really what decimated them. But Fred Warner was healthy. He's been healthy since his career started. So you'd hope that a player of this caliber, I mean, he's so good, right? He should be able to carry his team to some level of success and get his team into the postseason, right? I mean,
right. So what you're saying is that, like, they have 2 guys in the top 5, and obviously one was injured, but certainly they're
didn't make the postseason,
right? Yeah,
weren't even I mean, what are we talking about here? I mean, I just don't know if this guy's so good and so talented, then certainly he could lead his team to a playoff berth. When we saw Lamar Jackson did so in a much more competitive
with Michael Crabtree and
John Brown.
Yeah, like what?
So, yeah, I mean, I don't understand what they're trying. I guess they're just trying to get some clickbait and get some eyes on him. And again, we think Fred Warner's a good player, but you cannot have him above Lamar Jackson. It's absolutely silly. It's absolutely silly. But we want to know what you guys think. Are we overreacting? I mean, look, he is at number 2. So, I mean, I guess we should be happy with that. He's not like he's out of the top 5. But mind you, he was number 3 before somebody realized that their list had a guy who was already 25 on it, when this list clearly states they have to be under the age of 25.
Not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Certainly. No, exactly. And he was, by the way, he was 25 before the list was ever published. And this list clearly says they have to be under 25 by the time September 9th rolls around. So, but let us know, are we crazy? Are we overreacting? Or does Fred Warner, does he actually belong above Lamar Jackson And we'll talk soon.
See?